Peace, mercy, and blessings of God be upon you. Welcome with me to a new tale and story. Pray upon the prophet before we begin. Today's story. The owner of the problem says I'm 50 years old. And after my husband passed away, I married a man who is 70 years old. And what happened between him and me on our wedding night is something no one could imagine. Please, and it is not in order, before hearing my problem, support me by subscribing to the channel and activating the bell button. And pressing all so that you receive all my new content. The owner of today's problem says, my name is Mona. I am now 48 years old. My problem began when I met a young man who proposed to me through an arranged marriage, who was my husband, the father of my children. Of course, we had no prior acquaintance. He proposed to me like any traditional marriage, and I got to know him. I found him to be a very respectable person beyond imagination. Anyway, we were engaged for a year and then got married. I lived with him in a house that belonged to him. He was, thank God, a traveler. He married me when he was 32 years old. And at that time, I was 25 years old. Meaning the age gap between us was not large. 7 years. How respectful and well-mannered a young man he was. And he was also religious. And he knew God. He never missed a single prayer. He was very, very good. And all the kindness in the world was in him. Anyway, after that, we got married. And of course, he was considered an only son. He had 5 sisters, meaning he was the only young man for his sisters. Anyway, he had been traveling and living abroad his whole life. And he was the one who built himself by himself. And he was the one who paid for his own wedding, too. He had bought a large 2-story house. He had bought it in his name, from his travels and hard work. He was also helping his sisters with their marriages, although their situation, thank God, was decent. They had secured their daughters' marriages. They told the girls, we will support you, cover you, and marry you off, but we will not do for you what we are doing for the girls. You are a man, you have no military service. Travel, depend on yourself, build yourself, and marry. We will neither give you nor take from you. And they actually made that deal with him that each person should be responsible for themselves and their life, and that he should take care of himself by himself. Neither do they want him to help them with anything, nor will they help him with anything. It was just enough that he was in his future and get himself married. And of course, you know that this matter costs a lot for a young man, very much indeed. They, thank God, had only a large piece of land. They sold it for the girls' marriages. They had a modest house, that is. It was 1 floor. An old-fashioned house on an area of 100 meters, meaning a house that needed renovation or to be demolished and rebuilt. So all they had was used to cover the 5 girls, the jewels. And they left him to fend for himself. He traveled, of course, after he finished university, when he was 25. He spent about 5 years at that time without coming back for vacations at all. And he spent them all in Kuwait. And of course, he was a graduate of the Faculty of Commerce. He was working as an accountant at a good company, a construction firm. When God blessed him during those 5 years, he came back and bought. By that time, he had reached 30 years of age. He bought a house of his own, and he also got my dowry / jewelry. He had a sum of money, and he came to propose to me with it. He was 30 years old. He agreed with my dad that he would have a 2-year engagement, meaning he would travel to save up for his wedding and the cost of the party, because he was the one responsible for himself. My dad welcomed that idea. And we really did have a 2-year engagement until, thank God, things worked out for him and he came back and he continued his life's journey. He threw me a very big wedding and we got married in the best hall. Things were, thank God, and fine for us. Anyway, I moved into a house far away from my mother-in-law's house. I was far away from my husband's family because, as I told you, their house was a ground floor and old, and it was just there, barely getting by. So of course I married into my husband's house, which was in his name. God bless, it was 2 stories, and it was finished to a high standard. It was also newly built. Its space was very beautiful. It was wide and large. And of course we furnished it with the best and got married. At that time he was 32 years old. And I had already turned 25 years old. Because he got engaged with me when I was 23. Anyway, during that time, he stayed with me for 8 years. I mean, he would travel, go, and come back. He would stay for a year and then come back. Sometimes he would send me visits and such. Anyway, God blessed me with 2 girls during those 8 years. Then he was afflicted with cancer. Wiley was abroad in Kuwait. So he was forced to return. Because the pain was very difficult, he told me, I want to die in my country and in my own bed. What is it? I asked. He said, I've developed a difficult illness. Of course, this was due to the evil eye in it. Because, God bless, he was a very good person. He was a fighter. He had built himself up from scratch. He didn't even smoke a cigarette. He didn't waste a penny elsewhere. He was overly generous. So all eyes were on him. He told me I didn't discover this illness early. And I can't get treated abroad. I'm afraid I'll die while in exile. I told him, just come back for good. God willing, I'll be by your side until God heals you. Thank God that science has advanced. The world has progressed, and that's it. Every illness has a cure. May God grant him healing. God willing. So I made him come back permanently. He had reached 40 years of age by then. And I was, at that time, 32 years old. Or maybe about 33 years old. Anyway. He returned. I went through the treatment period. His morale was at 0. I can't even tell you. He would look at the 2 girls day and night, and he would cry. He'd tell me, I'm afraid to leave them to suffer after I'm gone. Well, keep your hope in God great, I'd say. He cried day and night. And honestly, the treatment wasn't yielding any results. He was always going downhill. The chemotherapy was taking a toll on his body. He wasn't eating, he was being fed through tubes. Besides that, because of the many sessions, his hair had fallen out and his appearance had changed. May God protect you. The sickness wore him down. He suffered for many years. He suffered for a whole year while undergoing treatment. His condition was deteriorating more each time. Until one day I found him telling me, I want to do something while I am still alive. I said, what? He said, you know that I didn't leave behind much. Just this house and a small amount of money in the bank. And I want to secure the future of these girls. I told him, what do you mean? Why are you worrying? The most important thing is that you get better for us. Then I found him saying, I want to gather my 5 sisters and gather my father and mother. I told him they're always welcome. He said, I want you to prepare a nice lunch, and they will come and do their part. And I want to talk to them about an important matter. I called my mother-in-law, father-in-law, and all the sisters. They gathered, and I did my duty for them. They sat with us that day. I prepared a good lunch, and of course they couldn't really eat or drink. I found him saying to them, I ask for your permission to register this house in the girls' names and their mother's name to secure their lives, the lives of these poor girls. They obviously need expenses, and they need marriage costs and funds. It would be wrong for me to leave them to suffer. And one's soul is prone to evil. I don't want them to struggle later. Well, his sisters were honestly very respectful and write whatever you want for your children, Mli'ة. This is your hard work. You were the one who worked abroad, and you are the one who struggled for this. And you are free to do what you want. Do whatever you want. Of course, we're not expecting anything from you, but may God grant you a long life, and you should do what is best for your children. Then he called a lawyer friend from town. He registered the house in my name as a sale, so it would be security for those. So that, just as his relatives sold land to prepare their daughters, I too might one day have some go to a house, rent an apartment, and prepare my daughters, because he was not a government employee and had no pension or an etamu or anything. His whole life was spent traveling for work, and God was providing for him through his work abroad. Anyway, his family forgave him, and then he actually registered the house through a sale. It was a house with a good area, thank God, and it was new. And as you know, he had put a larger sum in the bank, around 200,000. At that time, I found him telling me